G'day folks, welcome to another episode of Bandaged Cube Creations. Today's puzzle is the Bandaged Clock Uranus. Now this has 4 clocks on it, so following the Bandaged Clock Planet series proposed by Burjo, it says 4 clocks and it's slightly different to the Saturn. You may remember the Saturn had the yellow face clear, but it had a clock on the green face. This one, no clock on the green face, but it's moved to the yellow face. So instead of the clocks sort of being 4 faces in a row, we now have sort of 3 around a corner and then another one around this corner. And so we've got 2 faces here which are clear. And this is definitely harder than the Bandaged Clock Saturn, but it's mainly harder in terms of just the visualizing the colors and what's going on, because we're going to set it up into a position that's slightly different in order to solve it. So once that position is there, the actual techniques are the same, which is kind of good. And I guess that's how I like to approach things, is to see if I can solve it similarly to something else. So with this puzzle, in terms of scrambling it initially, I probably would do something like get all pieces to, what's the easiest way to do this? Just can't remember what I normally do here. I mean, something like this is probably okay. Potentially also, you could put them to this face. That's probably a little bit better, I think, because what I can do now is I've got this face free to just start moving stuff around, and I'm always kind of going up, around and back down. And there's one face that I can't turn it on, which is this green face, so I have to go up that way. And that does mean occasionally you have to do a little bit more work to separate some pieces, but the general technique is exactly the same as, I suppose, something like the Edge Road Cube or the Bandaged Clock Saturn, that same sort of deal there. Before you know it, it is looking relatively scrambled already. Now, edges can be flipped here as normal and corners can be twisted. So in terms of flipping edges, you can do something like the standard move. Certainly positions that we can get to perform that sort of move. Do we need to do probably... Just seeing if anything looks really not scrambled, but that all looks fairly reasonable. Now, being clocks, all I can really do is turn them around in position once I have the face free. So I can turn that clock around, but it can't really go anywhere. And this is now blocked and this is now blocked. That one can turn. I don't know, there's not a whole lot more you can do. So that point of view, I reckon this is good. And what I want to do to solve it is just put it into the configuration where they're all sitting there and then explain my thought process as to why I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Now that has got to go around there. Okay, I think we're good. When I looked at it, I saw, okay, there's 2 clocks sitting here next to each other. There's another 2 clocks over here. And they're angled such that you look at that and you go, hey, that's a fuse block. The same thing over here, you look at that and go, hey, that's a fuse block. Now, my initial thought was, I wonder if you can solve 2 fuse blocks, like get the 2 fuse blocks reduced and then kind of solve the remainder of the pieces around those fuse blocks. And I was going to try it, but the problem was, once you've made one of them, it's very, very, very difficult to make the second one without disturbing what you've already done. So I thought, nah, that's probably no good. So what I'll do instead is I'm going to make a fuse block initially and then do 1 turn to create a big block. And I'll show you what I mean. There's a fuse block, if I can get that made. Then I'm going to turn the red face like that. And you can see that would then make a big block. And that's the configuration that I'll end up using once I've done that. Now, I could have done it as an edge road type puzzle and put it into that configuration, but I always find this sort of fuse block, big block technique generally easier. I just said always generally. I most of the time find it easier. So that's what I'm doing here. So this is the fuse block first. It requires an orange-green piece there. So the first thing is to get it up onto this white face. So just move those things around. Now I can probably leave them over there at the moment. The orange-green is going to come up this way and do its thing. So it needs to be flipped. So to flip it, I can simply do that sort of thing and then turn it around. And you can see now that's ready to go into its position. So because this is clear, I can just do that. Now that happens to have got the orange, green, yellow with it. Not super thrilled about that, so I'm just going to separate. Pretend it wasn't there. Let's have a look. Normally, okay, that's what I'd do. Then I'd be solving that orange, green, yellow. Now the way that I want to do that is to get the corner on top of here so that the yellow sticker color is on the top. Now normally that's relatively straightforward just by turning the piece so the yellow goes to the top, moving it off and undoing that. Now I can turn that around. I can't do my replacement here because I can't turn this face, but if I turn it to there, I've got both these faces free to turn. So now 3 down, down, up, ups. Okay, that's been done. That goes in. There's the fuse block done. Now, the big block technique is the following. This normally, let's put these back to where they sit. That's where these other two go. But what I realize is if I put that there and make myself this part, which would form a big block, then I only have one more piece to go. And if you've seen the Saturn video, you will look at that and go, oh, that's the same kind of thing that happened. That's precisely what I want to do. So before I get to that point, I want to make this portion here. Now the colors mean that normally it's there. So I'm actually looking for a red-yellow edge initially. So let's locate it. It's there. We'll see if it's correctly positioned. I think that is. Can I turn that? No, because of that there. So I'll just move that out of the way and put it on. Now the red yellow is in. You can see that's going to be fine when it's put back there. And then I need to do the same sort of thing. I've got to get a red, yellow, blue with the blue on top. In this case, the blue is on top. So I'm actually good to go. Am I? No, because I just want to get that out of the way before I start. No, because it's that there. That's the problem. So I am going to turn it one more turn, and now I will be good to go. Okay, putting that back, that's done it. Now, if I return it to its position, you can see, let's just get this one here so it looks better. That is essentially what's going on. And that's where it'll live. That is the correct color. When the blue-yellow edge is there, it'll all match up. But where I'm going to use it is here. And there is my big block. So if I come around to here and I think, what position are these things normally in? That is the position of these other pairs. So from there, I've got to solve edges. And this is where it's a little bit trickier than Saturn, because in order to do this, you may remember with Saturn, I didn't have to turn this face at all. All I did was turn this off. Here, what I need to do, because that's its normal position, so I've got to do an up and a left 2 every time to free up these faces in order to make edges. Okay, so let's have a look at what are the ones that I want to do first. Well, when I turn it like this, these two I don't want to do first because they're part of my normal cycling. Here's one that I do. So the blue, if I look at where that's going, it's actually blue-red. I want to place blue-red onto green-red. And no, I don't. That's very, very silly because the blue-red is actually here. So let's ponder that again. I actually want to place blue-orange onto the blue-yellow. Let's try that. The problem is the blue-orange is going to be one of those last ones. So this one here, if I think about where that is coming from, when I have it solved, that piece there, I would turn, let's follow it up, turn that around and turn that around. It's actually coming from here, so it's the red-white. I did say this was sort of visually confusing, and you just saw a little bit of an instance of that. So the red white's got to go to red green first of all. So let's put it into position. There's the red white, it's got to go to red green. That can just be cycled with this piece up here. Now that should be correct orientation, and it is. You can see we put it back and that is done. Okay, what is the next piece? It's probably going to be this one over here. Oh no, that's actually part of it, so we won't worry about that. I will then have a look at these two pieces down here. So putting it back into the configuration, you'll see that it doesn't actually move those two pieces, or these two. So that's white green. So white green's got to go to orange blue. That'll be the next one. And that's just able to be cycled at the moment. I might as well just do that because I don't know if I've got any swaps or not. The other one will be white orange going here. You can see it's in position, but it's flipped. So in order to flip it, I will bring it up to the top and just carry out my normal flipping routine. Not overly concerned with the blue yellow at the moment. Let's return it there and return all the pieces and see what we've got. Okay, those two are in. The red white is still in. What does that leave us? This one, and this one over here. So there's only 3 left, and you can see now that when I put it into that position, those 3 land there. That's what I wanted. So let's just get the order of movement. Red, green, going to blue, orange. So that order there. So it doesn't matter how I carry it out at the moment. I'm just going to cycle them. Then I'm going to put things back and see whether I have flips or swaps or whatever. Don't have a swap. If I did have a swap, I would put it in that position and simply turn that face 1 turn and then resolve these edges into position. So at the moment, what do I have? Red, green to be flipped, blue, orange to be flipped. Okay, they are both up there, so I don't need any setups. I can just go ahead and do that. Let's put things back. And we'll see that all of the edges are now correctly placed. Now I want to do the same sort of thing with the corners in this setting. And I want to think, what are the problem corners? It's actually these 2 over here that I need to get done first. So let's follow them and see where they land. At the moment they're there, and then they're here. So those are the 2 corners that I want to do. Now you can see the red, white, green is already in position, so that's fantastic. This one is not solved, so I need to move blue, orange, white to blue, orange, yellow. So blue, orange, yellow is here, blue, orange, white is here. In order to do that, I'll do a setup like that, and then 3 down, down, up, ups to swap them. Let's undo that setup. We should have got that done. Let's now check how that's looking. That's still where it belongs. That's still where it belongs. Now that will leave us 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's have a look at them. Red, white, blue has to go to blue, yellow, orange, which has to go back there. So I've got a swap of 2 pieces here, and the other 2 pieces I've got to swap as well. So just remember one of them, really. In fact, I don't even think it would matter as long as we do a cycle. But I'm just going to remember red, white, blue to blue, yellow, orange. So put it into position. Blue, yellow, orange to red, white, blue. I think it was the reverse, wasn't it? So that to there. So I can just cycle down like this. And to do that, in order to go this direction, I want to do my U-turn first and then put this into that position. Undo my U-turn, undo those twists. Now, the hardest part of this cube for me is actually remembering my setups to undo. I genuinely cannot remember. Did I have any? Apparently not. They were just sitting there ready to go. So when I put that back now, let's take stock. The white, blue, orange is in, and I've got white, green, orange going to green, yellow, red, going to yellow, orange, blue. Okay, so again, I'll just remember white, green, orange going to green, yellow, red. And the good thing is the white, green, orange going to green, yellow, red, that's the other piece. So if I do a setup of R prime, I know that is my piece movement. So once again, I'll do my U-turn first, then place this one. Now I think I had an R prime, so I've got to do an R. Then I reckon that's good, and we will find that all of our corners have been placed. Okay, which leads to the last section, which is to twist our corners. In this occasion, we've got 3 that need to be twisted clockwise. Again, I want to look at the ones that are problematic. The ones that are problematic in the form that we're going to have are actually these 2, because anything here I can just easily do. So I want to deal with these 2 first. Let's have a think. First one doesn't really matter. White, orange, blue, and red, white, green, they're all going clockwise. So let's deal with the white, orange, blue first. And the way I can do that, by the way, I'm not really interested if I muck up another corner. I just want to kind of get these done one at a time. I suppose if I can involve these 2, that's even better. Possibly that one. So I'm going to do front, right, front prime, right prime. Those 2 there. Front, right, front prime, right prime. That one's got to go clockwise, so that's the key one, and I'll use this as my second corner. This is normal twisting, as in the very standard routine that I would normally use. Put that back. Now I had a setup, I think it was front, right, front prime, right prime. So I've got to go right, front, right prime, front prime. That even looks kind of good. And what was next? That and that. Fantastic. Just leaves 2. Again, one of them is the problematic one. So the red, white, green's got to go clockwise. Let's see where this lands. So I've got to get this up to that face somehow. And so I can certainly do that. That's not bad, actually. Because what I want is eventually to have both of them sort of there. So let's put them into the position again and then just think. I did front prime, right, front, right 2. I can't remember which one's got to go where. Let me undo that. I think that's good. Yep. Okay, so the white has to go clockwise. That's what I've got to remember. White's got to go clockwise. Okay, front prime, right, front, right 2. That one's clockwise, so that one's anti-clockwise. Here we go. One's done. Bring that in. Move it back. Okay, undoing setups. Front right 2, I think, was the last one, and then it was that one, that one, that one. I think we're looking good. That looks very good to me. And just put it back into its solved configuration, and you can see, hey, it is actually solved. So that is how I go about doing the Bandaged Clock Uranus puzzle. Hope you understand what I mean by a little bit more involved than Saturn, but really the same sort of principles. I will say I'm not looking forward to Jupiter. Well, this is the puzzle for the next video. This one is called the double block. And when you look at it, you can see very clearly why. There's essentially, they're not really blocks. I mean, that's a block. This one's a plate, but of course, the naming of these things was done a long way after these puzzles were originally proposed. So this one was proposed by Burjo. It's called the double block. It's only got the 2 pieces. It's an interesting one. It's quite restricted. And when you come to solve it, if you have a play with it first, you'll probably find, like I did, there's one particular part which is really quite tricky. See you in the next video.